Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karamavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so what we saw yesterday is that the question that was asked is for the person who is interested in knowledge, who wants to know the truth, what is faster, right? Is thinking about the final reality that you and Ishvara are one, which is a contemplation on the final truth. The final truth is formless, is not objectifiable, is not something which has any attributes. So, that's the ultimate understanding that you must have. Is it faster to think about that truth, which is the reality of you and Ishvara, or is it better to be, just continue to be this individual and relate to the total and begin to transform yourself and change your interaction with the universe. Instead of seeing the universe as a source of suffering or something, which is material and you need to stay away from it, begin to see it in and through these forms. All that is here is actually Ishvara. Your relationship with the world changes. You begin to trust things. You begin to have better self-image. Everything about you begins to change. And so is it better to do that? An individual entering in relationship with the total and transforming oneself, is that going to get you to the final truth faster, or thinking about the final reality and contemplating on final reality is better? That is his question. And Lord Krishna starts the verse by saying that those who are committed to me. So what does it mean? He's talking about individual relating to Ishvara. He says they are beloved to me and I will make sure that they free themselves from this bondage of samsara. So they are very safe. But the next two verses, he says, even those who are thinking about the final truth, which is the identity between you and Ishvara, and thinking about Brahman, which is non-objectifiable, which is something which you cannot grasp as an object. They also get me, but he adds condition, provided they have done three things. What are the three things he adds? He says, one is samabuddhi, certain equanimity. That means the forms do not create huge spikes. Interaction with forms doesn't create ups and down roller coasters. That is the first condition. The second condition is what? Sarva bhuta hite rataha. This is the third one. And what does it mean? The small individual who's threatened, who's jealous, who's competitive, who's constantly comparing oneself with that person is gone, or trying to be better. That person is trying to show one's superiority. I remember, so I will let you. So what happens is that person, is still operating from that little insecure individual who doesn't feel safe, constantly trying to prove oneself, or constantly giving oneself the message of inadequacy. So that person is not going to be able to contemplate, even if the person is trying to contemplate with all these inaccuracies that are existing in the mind is not going to abide in the truth. So what he says is, and the third is what, that mastering indriyas. Indriyas, because indriyas, when they come in contact with sense objects, it creates pressure. This is how we are all designed, and to not totally yield to those pressures. That requires a lot of mastery, right? And the go with what needs to be done. If that person has done this earlier and has gained certain mastery, then yes, that contemplative person who's contemplating on the final reality will also get to the truth, right? So this is how he doesn't say this one gets, this one doesn't get. The answers are not categorical, right? He says he seems to lean over individual connecting to the total. Why? Because that is very safe. That will prepare you. In that there is transformation. In that there is change in relationship with forms. That is very safe. The other one has a danger. And what is the danger? That you are trying to skip life and you are trying to skip forms. And that, where the form is, that's exactly where Ishvara is. So you can't skip forms and get to Ishvara. So you need to first settle account with forms and your interaction with forms. So that's what he says, that's very safe, because that will ensure that you are getting better, more objective, your relationship with the world is changing, your relationship with yourself is changing. That will definitely get you to the final truth, because you are taking the steps which are necessary to undertake the journey. You're not trying to bypass things, right? You're not in a hurry. So this is something that he says. Now, Gabby had some observation. She told me at the end of the class, and I thought it was really relevant. So I said, please tell everyone in front of everyone, so everyone else benefits.
No.
Neema yesterday talked about that we have to transform ourselves, and we never will get it if we are just thinking that we are small and that we are inadequate and that we are just inferior and that we cannot speak or cannot make it or things like that. So she said you have to grow because you cannot get the huge truth if you feel like just being a small person and being inferior. And my comment was, yes, this is true, but even persons who don't feel inferior, even those who feel superior and who feel very intelligent and who feel that they are getting it all, it's the same track, it's the other side of the same coin, because then you think you can do it by yourself or just by your intellect or by your own effort, and this doesn't work as well. So both traits of both sides are the same. So if you are more on the small or insecure side, don't think those who are feeling superior are better than you or anybody else, but both sides don't have a healthy self-image, and it has to be balanced, and it is even more complex because nobody feels inferior or superior in all fields of life. So you go from inferior to superior to looking up to looking down, and you are always like this instead of being really centered and focused on yourself and being able to catch or to get the truth.
Absolutely. This is so true. And that's why I sense is a reality. All of us have I sense. It's a function of the mind that nobody can eliminate. It's Ishvara's creation. If your mind didn't have I sense, you won't be able to operate. You won't be able to say, I went for a walk and I came back and I took a shower. You need eye sense, right? You need not say the body went for a walk and the hand put itself on a head and shook the head. You don't need to say that. You can just say, I washed my hair, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. So I sense nobody can eliminate. It's part of Ishvara's program. So at the relative level, we are trying to make it healthy. We are not, but what Gabby is saying is so important, that we move from inferiority to superiority. Right? And the same person can move from inferiority to superiority. One day you tell yourself, oh, I'm so intelligent and I'm like really, there is nobody like me. And next day you feel, oh my God, I don't know anything, right? So what it means is, some days you tell yourself, I'm into Vedanta and, I'm really one of these 1% of the population who is a mumukshu, and you build it up, and then you go to a party and you say, I'm studying Vedanta, and people look at you as like, what? And then all your confidence is gone. What it means is, because there is absolutely no validation. You didn't get, they don't value, they don't care for Vedanta, and they think you're weird. So you're back to down. So what it means is, we keep moving, we keep creating dramas in our own head about who we are. One day we feel, very, very this, and next day we are also ourselves down in the dumps. So a healthy self-image is neither superiority nor inferiority, as Gabby is saying. And then what is then healthy self-image? What consists of healthy self-image? What do you think is healthy self-image? Healthy sense of I. Neither superior nor inferior. What does it mean? What does it tell you? How does that person behave?
Reflected.
Sorry?
Reflected. Reflection about yourself.
Okay, somebody who is reflecting.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody, yeah, okay. Anything else?
Isn't it the basic conscious person? Just I'm aware, now I'm feeling superior, but I'm aware of it. I'm conscious of, now I'm sad, I'm being conscious.
That is healthy?
I would say.
Anybody else?
For example, I know what I can, my capability, I know about my abilities, and I'm not too shy to push it down and to say, yes, this is a gift I received, and I bring it in, for example. And on the other hand, I know that I'm not able to do everything, so I'm clear about the person, the abilities of the person, and what the personality is.
Okay, good. This is something which is very important, and I want to tell a story. And I think basically what Sita Devi is saying is that a healthy self-image is the person who is understanding one's place in the grand scheme of things. And what does it mean? You don't need to depreciate yourself. You can acknowledge, I have these skills, I have these talents, I have these resources with me. So it's not like you're feeling, that I have nothing, right? So that means this is good. But you are still, even if you acknowledge all the things that are given to you, you are not proud, because you understand that this is something that you did not create. It is endowed to you. And in order for even develop all these potentials that you were given, how many people participated? Hundreds of people participated in collapse, so that you could collapse those potentials and you did what you could do. So you are level-headed because you acknowledge all your strengths, but at the same time don't create a bubble, because you understand that it's endowment from Ishvara and as a potential, and even to collapse that potential, so many people participated. So you're grateful. So this person is a person who has healthy self-image. So Swamiji always used to say, this false, humble, simple person is useless. Oh, I'm nobody. Oh, I'm nothing. It's not needed. So that happened to me in my life, in reality. Right? This is where I see how much knowledge he had assimilated. The Gita verses were not Gita verses for him. It was life. So one day, I used to, my mind, I was just talking to Julie and Sander, and we were discussing about something, and I said, everything that I heard, I spent hours and hours and hours trying to make sure that it was not somewhere like floating in my head as an idea, but I really understood it completely. And until it really set and I understood exactly all the angles, I would not leave it. So, and that's why I also had questions in the process. So I would ask him questions, and one day he told me, Swamiji told me that you are really smart. And like my normal mechanical response, oh no, Swamiji, where am I smart? And he stopped me. And he says, why are you saying that? Why are you saying you're not smart? I don't just give you compliment just like that. I mean it. And that, then again I was thinking, and I said, yeah, but Swamiji, if I start saying I'm smart, won't I become proud? Then he told me that you can acknowledge that you are smart, but attribute it to Ishvara's grace. Then you will remain grounded. Say that you didn't create the brain, you didn't create its possibilities. It was all given to you as a result of karma phala, your effort, which was rewarded with some kind of a brain, and then you can be grateful for it, and that potential you collapsed. And how many people contributed? So you be grateful. Then what will happen? You will say, yes, I have all of this, but you give due importance to the grand order and also people's participation. And then you're free. You're not creating yet another bubble of superiority. But you are also not this falsely humble person who's like, no, this is not needed. Why? Because there is a certain hypocrisy here. What is the hypocrisy? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good that my teacher thinks that I'm smart. But what is my response? Denial. So there is some disconnect between what I really feel and what I'm saying, which I don't realize because I'm hiding behind the concept of you have to be humble, you have to have some humility, but it's false. The real humility comes when you actually acknowledge the contribution. Then you don't take, I'm the one. That is real humility. So that all that we have to learn, and that is what, first of all, what is that I sense cannot be given up until you have the body. I sense is one of the functions of the mind. And you have to make it healthy. And neither superior bubble nor inferior bubble. Right? So all these are preconditions before your mind, even begins to accurately think about what the truth is and, thinks about Brahman accurately. Okay, so now there is one thing that now that she brought this, there was a very famous psychiatrist who came to the previous camp, and he did a small module in the evening about what is healthy. Now that Gabby is bringing it out, he gave a presentation about, according to psychology, he's a psychiatrist actually, he's not a psychologist, he's a famous doctor. And he says, what is his healthy eye sense, according to psychology or psychiatry?
In fact, it is based on Albert Ellis, so for those who know, who is the father of this cognitive behavior, let's say, stream on sequence.
So at a relative level, so I'm just going to talk about it. And he did 4 role plays with his wife. His wife was also there. She has PhD in psychology and he's a psychiatrist. So they did a role play and 4 types of eye sense. Very interesting. And the scenario was that he had gone to the retreat like this and his wife didn't come. So when he comes home, the wife is asking him, how was the retreat? And then how he replies reflects what is his eye sense, right? So the first scenario was, he comes home and the wife asks him, oh, you're back, how is the retreat? And his answer is, yeah, the retreat was good, the food was good, the accommodation was nice, the weather stayed good. One day it rained, but otherwise it was fine. And so now I have to go to work and, we'll talk later. What is this eye sense? What is this eye sense?
Not able to talk about the truth.
Excellent.
What did you say?
Not able to talk anything about oneself. Food was good. Weather was nice. It hardly rained. The accommodation was fine. Is the person giving any of oneself and one's experience? Is all totally factual and dry. There is no person there. It's like a robot. Is this the Sthita Prajna that Lord Krishna is talking about? Certainly not. Mechanical. And so-called operating from rational mind, which is totally devoid of the person is unable to express or bring oneself into it. It just remains totally cognitive and factual and boring, mechanical. This person is not comfortable with oneself. Is not able to talk about oneself, not in touch with oneself. This is one scenario. The second scenario. The husband walks in, the wife asks, how was the retreat? And he says, oh, it was really wonderful. But you know what? People were so bright. And they all kind of were asking questions and, they were all so intelligent and they were engaging. And you know what? I felt like, oh my God, I know so little. and I have a long way to go.
Low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem. Small I. Everybody else was so good, but I was impressed, but second, low self-esteem. One is mechanical, is unable, not in touch with oneself at all. The other one is feeling small. The third one is the wife, he enters, wife asks, how is the retreat? And the third one says, oh, it was great. The discussions were so stimulating. I learned a lot from others. And I also got so stimulated and I was able to raise some interesting questions and really everybody coming together and the level of knowledge and the level of discussions were at such high level. It was highly stimulating. What is this?
Self-centered and high self-esteem. He's quite objective then.
Sorry?
Isn't he being quite objective?
So what it means is he's enthusiastic and he tells everybody else was really good, but I was also good. Doesn't see the world in a skewed way that others are so good and I am not good, quite objective. And is able to talk about the experience. He brings himself in, but doesn't bring himself in a
Inflated.
neither inflated nor deflated. Pretty objective. Good. That I am good. I am not any less, and others are also not less. Healthy. Healthy. Gives other due importance and also says, I also got stimulated, I participated, I learned a lot. That's a very objective and healthy. The fourth, how was the retreat? Says, oh, you know what? I could answer all the questions.
Others didn't know anything.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? I was really thinking that, that now this Vedanta, now I pretty much know everything.
It's a waste of my time.
Now, exactly.
And you know others, the questions of the others. I mean,
Yeah, really. I think really they have a long way to go. And sometimes I was like, yeah, but I was so good. What is this, I sense? Inflated.
and deluded.
Sorry?
And deluded.
And deluded. So what does it mean? The wisdom is not in, it was raining. And it was what? And this is what we think is, sthita prajna. What sthita prajna? The person who's completely,
The person is absent.
absent.
No emotion.
No emotion. No person there. Is not in touch. So, what here we mean is somebody who doesn't all these, neither bubble of superiority nor bubble of inferiority nor so much discomfort in talking about yourself. You're comfortable and you give others their due and you're interested and you're curious. So this is something which is very important. All this happens in the empirical world. It doesn't. All this getting well happens in empirical world. You can't skip this. So let's move to the next verse. क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखं देहवद्भिरवाप्यते. Number 5. Who wants to read?
Greater is the affliction for those whose minds are committed to what cannot be objectified. For an end which cannot be objectified is reached with difficulty by those who are identified with the body.
Okay, so what it means is, all of a sudden you cannot become contemplative. Because the mind is not, this is why many people have this complaint. They find Vedanta abstract and intellectual. Why do they find Vedanta abstract and intellectual and nothing to do with heart?
Because it's difficult to connect with something which is not an object.
Absolutely. It's difficult for the mind to reach, things. Any advanced studies, right? When you study mathematics, when you study physics, where ultimately it's all, nothing concrete. People find it's very difficult for mind to understand accurately. So, ultimately you have to understand something which is formless, which is unlike anything that you have seen, unlike anything that you have known. The method of knowing is also different. The pramanas used for knowing is also different. That's something very different. And the mind is used to its normal method of knowing. So what happens is, even when you listen to Vedanta, you can only come back to your normal method of knowing. And then there is some anticipation. And what is anticipation? If I know limitless, something very unusual has to happen to me. And what does it mean? Unusual means what? I feel this huge expansion. That I'm only kind of, in this ocean of consciousness I'm floating. Or I feel bliss all the time. All these things the mind imagines. There is some anticipation, something has to happen. And it's not some ordinary knowing. Knowing I'm limitless means something extraordinary has to happen to me. And this something extraordinary has to happen to me. Puts you in a trip, perennial trip. Why? Because limitless is always there. You don't produce it. Your experiences don't produce it. It is the truth of everything right now. While you are ignorant, it is the truth of you and truth of everything else, not just you. And that is only a cognitive process. That is through contemplation, your mind has to figure out. So if your mind is, in small things it is projecting, here it will project big time. So the mind has to become non-projective, objective, clear mind, which is able to capture intricacies without making any mistake or deviating from what Shastra is showing. It's a disciplined mind. It's able to abide in the truth. It doesn't create its own impressions. So that is not easy. So how the same person who interacts with the world, the same person uses the mind in the classroom. It's not like you have two minds, one to transact with the world and the other in the classroom. So in small things, if you are not able to assess things accurately, simple things of forms are confusing you and all, entanglement and delusion and a lot of issues and non-clarity. If the mind is like that, right? The same mind, when it uses something so intricate, something so different, something so subtle, it is unable to reach. It creates images which are inaccurate. This is why in Mundaka Upanishad there is an imagery. What is the imagery? The bow is the Vedas, because the knowledge comes from the Vedas. And the target is Brahman. And the arrow is the mind. So you have to use the Vedas, who are showing you that you are Brahman. So that target, that why are you listening to Vedas? Because you want to understand, I am Brahman. But the mind has to reach Brahman, and generally what happens, an inaccurate mind doesn't reach the target. It goes here, it goes there, sometimes few inches away, sometimes very far away. And then it starts building on those ideas. It goes on a tangent without recognizing it, not able to hold the knowledge. So this is why what Lord Krishna says is, thinking about these realities, the final truth, without enough preparation. He says it's neither it's going to produce a result, sometimes it's going to be counterproductive. So sometimes it's interesting how these people, they connect things which are not connected. They connect to some. So recently we knew somebody, and he says, I understand. I understand Vedanta, but I don't feel the sense of expansion. So they go somewhere and take some substance which makes you feel expansion. But the worst is, he takes his whole family, young kids, and he thinks he's making them spiritual with this experiences of expansion. And the experiences of expansion has got nothing to do with Atma being limitless. Nothing. Limitless, what does it mean? It means there is no second. Somehow manipulating the mind and making it to think big, which is in time, and having some experience for 5 minutes is not limitless.
Because you have to come back to yourself.
And that experience is in time. It happened at 5 o'clock in the evening and it went away at 5:05. It's limited to 5 minutes. This is not called limitless. Limitless means it's truth of time. It is truth of space. It is truth of every object. It's another ball game. So, this is where Lord Krishna says, prematurely Brahman creates confusion. And be safe. Begin to relate to Ishvara, get your mind in order over a period of time, it will become clear enough to create right meanings. And you have to understand that then what? There is no one day you will understand I am Brahman. If you not Brahman is, there is some one reality which is the truth of everything. I am Brahman. If you understand I am Brahman, then people say, oh, but I have to keep reminding myself. Do you need to keep reminding yourself? Do you keep reminding yourself every day, I'm Julie, I'm Julie, I'm Julie, I'm Julie. Oh, I shouldn't forget I'm Julie, I'm Julie, I'm Julie. Oh, I shouldn't forget I have a degree in psychology. I can't forget that. I have to keep reminding myself. It's so clear. The question, do I understand or not? Can I retain it or not? That question only disappears. Because that is the truth of everything. And that is your truth. It's so clear as a daylight. It is not subject to memory and you brainwashing yourself and convincing yourself this is who I am and trying to dissociate with the body and not connected with the body. This is not the pursuit. So this is where Lord Krishna says, remain sane, remain an individual, do what needs to be done to grow as an individual, get clarity, right? Get your processes of thinking right. Not this convoluted, distorted ways of looking at things. Get your relationship with the world right. Get your trust levels high because you understand that this universe is manifestation of Ishvara. Get your eye sense in its right place, not this floating inferiority, superiority. Lot of work to be done as an individual. This is how Ishvara has arranged it. You can't bypass that step. If you bypass, you keep floating here and there. So this is where he says, Dukkham aptum. So what? It is something which is not easy. It's not easy, right? So here he says, Gatir dukkham dehavat bhir avapyate. This is something which is hard, difficult, right? Now, therefore, he says, it is safe to relate to me as an individual and prepare yourself. So, what is bhakti? We generally think the meaning of bhakti is you go to the temple, you do some puja, you do bhajans, you chant, right? Or you go on a pilgrimage, or you do some fasting, tapas, right? This we think is bhakti. What Lord Krishna is now going to say, entering into relationship with me, is a totally different relationship. He's talking about, look at this, the next verse. What is for him bhakti? He explains. Entering into relationship with Ishvara. Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananye naiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate tesham aham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya veshita chetasam. Who wants to read 6 and 7? Yeah, Sita.
However, those who worship me, keeping me as the ultimate end, giving up all actions unto me, meditating upon me with a commitment in which there is indeed no other. For them whose minds are absorbed in me, Partha, Arjuna, before long I become the liberator from the ocean of samsara that is fraught with death.
Okay, so that means here when he's saying, those who worship me, keeping me as the ultimate end, giving up all actions unto me. Who is this me that he's talking about? Okay, good. He's not talking about Brahman, he's talking about Ishvara. Now, how do you, what is the word which is used? Giving up all actions unto me. What does it mean? What does it mean? How would you give up your actions unto Ishvara? Or practically, what would you do?
Understanding that everything here is Ishvara.
Okay. What else? What else will you do?
Recognizing that all the talents and all the things are given by Ishvara.
Okay, good. Right? One way is to say that all the talents that I have used, that I have, and all the potentials that I have given, which I can collapse with my effort, it's all given by Ishvara. And I have not come here in this world to just hang around. I'm a participant. And I have to participate with, and I have been given power to what the actions that I perform not only impact me, but impact so many people around me. And if one good action has a power, so why wouldn't I give out the best that I can, right? So this attitude is something which is very important. Otherwise, spirituality, pseudo-spirituality can make you lazy. Oh, I'm not interested in all these material things anymore. Oh, the world is all full of suffering. I'm only interested in knowledge. Hang out. It's not about hanging out. It's finding your place in the universe and giving your best. In that is your growth. And in any given situation, figure out what is dharma and do what needs to be done and not let your pressures of raga and dvesha, because Ishvara is in form of dharma. When you act from your raga dvesha, you're not in harmony with Ishvara. You're not a bhakta, because it's the individual and the pressures which are, clamoring for attention. You've lost your connection with Ishvara, which abides in all of us as dharma. It was very interesting when we were in our ashram and we were doing 3.5-year course. It's not like we were not trying to do the right thing, but didn't mean that we all did the right thing, right? Your mind is fanciful, it goes here, it does this. And Swamiji would tell us, I remember he telling me once, I did something off. And he's looking into my eyes and he says, there was more of you and less of Ishvara in this action. What does it mean?
God.
It was all coming more from my pressures. I had lost this. What a way to express. He didn't say this was wrong action and this is adharmic and this is this and no, how could you do this? Just a fact. There was more of you and less of Ishvara. So elegant, so beautiful. I got it. I said, yeah, I messed up, but he's saying it so elegantly. So, this is how it is. So, what does it mean? In your actions, you ask yourself, is there more of Ishvara or there is more of me? Me the one who's clamoring for attention, clamoring, this whole need for love, this need for recognition, a need for whatever, all this is coming up? Or is it something that doesn't come from my pressure? I just am lucid about what needs to be done and do it. So, what I want to do is, I want to, which I did in the previous camp, I've talked a lot, earlier, and you have all studied earlier. So you all know about Ishvara's dharma, and what is dharma, samanya dharma. It's like you apply, it's not some theoretical discussion about, how do we know what is dharma? Dharma, the way Vedanta describes, is something very, very simple. What is simple? How you would like to be treated. You not only know how you want to be treated, you also know how others want to be treated. Everybody comes with this program, because that is Ishvara's program. Dharma, if it is there as a law, you need to know it before you can follow it. So everybody is given this understanding. What is uncomfortable for me is also you equally understand is uncomfortable for others. But sometimes, your needs become so large that you don't care that it is going to create pain for somebody else or is going to hurt somebody else. And then you justify, as I said, you enter into some kind of a delusion because you don't want to see yourself as doing something not in harmony with Ishvara, not in harmony with the universe. So you then tell yourself, this is how, you take it all at intellectual level. Everybody is doing it. What is wrong in that? These are conventions, these are cultural impositions, all these justifications. And then what happens is, right now, if you think that this is all nothing, the Ishvara's laws are quite amazing. Oh, you think it's nothing? Okay, now let's turn the table and you're going through this. How does it feel? How does that feel? Because you are saying it's nothing, you should feel nothing. It's not nothing. Turning the table, what you justify as okay, right? The businessman justifies little cheating, everybody does it. So what? When he's cheated, is nothing. No, then it's not nothing. Then you're furious. How could this person do this to me? Double standards. Justifications. So samanya dharma, a simple person, this is why Swamiji said, a simple person can mess up and it's okay. You know you have messed up. It's not difficult to then say, okay, I've messed up. But the minute you delude yourself and start justifying, it's an entanglement. Because then you lose track of what is right and what is wrong. You use all your intellectual might to convolute everything so that you can see yourself as being right. Then all your discrimination, everything begins to, it's all jumbled. This is why samanya dharma is extremely important and the criteria is applied to yourself. Would I like to be treated like this? Very simple. Now, what I want to do is, this time, a little different approach. I'm teaching Mahabharata, and Mahabharata is a great learning for me also. Initially, Surya started teaching Mahabharata, and then I thought, oh, I should also do it. And I love it because I don't use Mahabharata to tell a story about people who existed long time ago. But I use the story to reflect the characters of Mahabharata, help you to reflect on human nature. And human nature is, it kind of what happened thousands of years ago. We thought it is the times have changed. In terms of human behavior, we keep behaving exactly the same. The external environment has changed, but the human mind has not changed. So the context of Mahabharata is prince and princesses and all, and you may say, well, there are no princes and princesses. I'm just a common citizen. I'm struggling to survive. I hardly have any money, and who is this Arjuna and who is this and all. It's not related to me. I'm not living in a palace, and I don't have a cousin who wants to take away my kingdom and all. What? But the mental processes are exactly the same. What happens in the palaces also happens in middle class homes and also happens in poor homes. Everywhere. So, what Mahabharata shows is people don't follow dharma for different reasons. So there is this archetype of people who are operating from something which doesn't allow them to see what is the right thing to do. And then you have archetypes of many different people. So I'm going to do this exercise. What made those characters in Mahabharata, for their own reasons, one is different from the other, not follow dharma and not to be able to figure out what is dharma. Okay, so there is one which is very common and that all of us know, and that is what anybody who knows Mahabharata, they know. Duryodhana is what? Not doing the right thing because he is totally taken by greed, ambition. So this adharma. Adharma doesn't mean you are a dharmic person, you are a bad person. It doesn't mean that. What is adharma? In a given situation, you are not able to assess what is to be done because your mind takes you for one reason or the other to another assessment. That is called adharma. That is, it doesn't mean you are a bad person. Right? You are not able to assess what needs to be done, what is the right response. And that happens to many people for different reasons. Right? So, you see, Duryodhana is on the one spectrum, end of the spectrum, which is what we generally think as adharma. Duryodhana is not able to do the right thing. Why? Because he is operating from greed. His own ambition. His own self-interest. And he's so self-absorbed, he doesn't care what his actions do to others. He doesn't bother. This is an archetype of a person who is totally narcissistic and is completely self-absorbed and only looking at one's own interest. Has very little consideration for what others, impact of one's actions on others. So this is why it's difficult for them to assess. Any situation arises, they will only look at the situation from their perspective and their self-interest. Okay? So this is one. But everybody is not like that. So there is the other person in Mahabharata who's also at times not able to assess situations accurately, but for a completely different reason. Not because the person is greedy or ambitious or self-absorbed. So there is this person, Bhishma. He is an archetype he's not like Duryodhana. He is a very exalted human being, but he is operating from one thing. And what is that one thing? Sander, you are raising that.
I have a question about the word ambition, because I personally don't see it as something which is really a bad thing.
But if the ambition is so blinded that I have to be the king, no matter what, it's totally driven by that. That means dharma has gone off, right? Now he's not thinking about the righteous way of becoming, the king. But it is all manipulation, right? So ambition as such is not bad, but when that becomes the only criteria, so you want promotion, but if you are willing to say bad things about, somebody else, because your ambition is of prime importance to you, and everything else is relegated to a secondary place, then it becomes problematic. So ambition as such is not bad. So Bhishma operates from one principle. What is his principle?
Loyalty to the kingdom.
Loyalty to the kingdom, and more than my vow, and I have to stick to my words. Now look at this. In the morning class, Nachiketa is telling his father, we are not people of loose words. Whatever we say, we stick to that. Because if you start justifying, then what happens? You just begin to say things that you don't mean, and you lose all your, strength and your centeredness, because your words they don't carry any weight. So yes, it is a value. This is why Bhishma, we think that he is exalted. Nobody talks badly of Bhishma because he holds his words. So he is exalted. Where is he misguided?
His loyalty is to the wrong side.
So what happens is, he doesn't show enough flexibility in interpretation. So what Lord Krishna tells him, there is a conversation between Krishna and Bhishma. And he says, taking a vow and sticking to your words is good. That's a good quality. That's why he's exalted. What is wrong with it? That now that you have taken a vow, that you will protect the king of Hastinapura. He tells his father, I will protect the king of Hastinapura. You're not asking yourself one more question. Has this king become the king through righteous means or not? If he has become the king through righteous means, yes, you have taken a vow to protect. And if this person has cheated and become the king of Hastinapura, you have no obligation to support him. So what does it mean? Blindly following the rules and showing no flexibility of interpretation. So this is what we call a little bit rule-based, inflexible, rigid. Word is a word. I'm not going to inquire into the larger context, whether it is valid in this context or not. It is just all fixed and you keep following it. This is why they are not considered bad people. When we study Mahabharata, they are exalted people, but they don't do the right things. They end up supporting Duryodhana. He ends up supporting Duryodhana because he has taken a vow to support the king of Hastinapura. And Duryodhana happens to be the king of Hastinapura, but he has become the king through unrighteous means. And he doesn't have that. Now, then you have one more character, and that is Karna. Karna also ends up being on the side of Duryodhana. But he has his own reason. What is his reason? Not the same as Bhishma's reason. What is his problem? Where is he operating from? What is his archetype? Loyalty. He operates from this whole thing that he thought he was extraordinary, and he was. But his problem was everybody else kind of labeled him as somebody who was son of a charioteer. They didn't give much importance to him. So he was really struggling for his self-identity. He was struggling for recognition. He was struggling for people, respect. And all of a sudden, Duryodhana saw an opportunity. He saw somebody brilliant who's struggling with self-image. And immediately he saw an opportunity here. And he made him the king of Andhra Pradesh. And he gave him the recognition, and he told him that you are really bright and I will support you. So that need of his, which was the deepest need, when it was satisfied by Duryodhana, what did his mind say? This person has given me that something that nobody else has given me. My loyalty forever goes to him, regardless of what he does. That's why he was an insider to all these schemes. He was there. Bhishma found out later. Karna was very much part of the deal. But he never said anything. This loyalty, this is the archetype.
Isn't it also hurt?
And Lord Krishna told him that, loyalty is good. Just as sticking to your words is good, even loyalty is good. But loyalty up to a certain point, right? That you are grateful that he helped you is wonderful. That you don't forget and you don't take it for granted. But that doesn't mean you have to be an accomplice in every act of his, which is all highly adaptive.
I just wondered whether he was also acting from a position of hurt.
Yeah, so that hurt and, that hurt that he was not recognized. Then somebody who recognizes him then gets his full loyalty.
And if I'm correct, there was also a story where he wanted to be seen as the one who was always giving. So I believe that Indra came for his armor protection.
Asked him for his armor, Kavach and Kunda.
And that he wanted to be seen as something, and because of that he made wrong decisions.
Yeah. So what does it mean? Approval. Somebody who needs that people's approval, that I want to be recognized as somebody noble. So just because he had this, his eye sense was very wobbly, fragile. That's why he needed that validation. And whoever validated him got his loyalty. And many of his actions came from that, I want to be recognized as a noble person, and then I'll do anything, I'll go to any length to get that recognition. Right? So it's operating, do you understand? Different people for different reasons, they are not bad people. But they are not able to assess what needs to be done in that situation. And when you don't do what needs to be done in that situation, that particular action is called adharma because you didn't do what needs to be done. Right? So then you have karna. Then you have who? Drona. What is Drona's story? Where is he operating from? Drona and Draupadi, who is also Draupadi, operating from one thing, which is revenge. What is this revenge of Drona? Drona was badly treated by Drupad, and Drona never forgot it, and he said that Drupad became his enemy, and Draupadi, who is Drupad's daughter, was married to Pandavas, and Draupadi's son Drushtadumna, and they are all on the one side, so he had to be against. So what does it mean? This revenge. I have been wronged and I am going to destroy the person who has wronged me. I'm going to get back. That person has to be taught a lesson. How many of us operate now? Once we do this, what I will do is make you reflect. Where do you see yourself? Do you fall prey to these archetypes? Then you have, wait, let's finish. Then you have Yudhishthir. And Yudhishthir also makes blunders. Even though he is Dharma Raja and he tries to do everything right, he makes many mistakes.
What connection? His father is?
Pandu. Father is like Lord Yama.
We have seen in this Kathopanishad.
He's Dharma Raja. Why doesn't he why he makes mistakes? He begs Draupadi, he begs his own brothers. This is not dharmic. He lets go. Duryodhana repeatedly is cheating him and he lets go. He wants peace. What is this archetype?
You cannot say no, he wants to choose everybody.
Yeah, a little bit of let go. Let's keep peace.
Pacifist.
Yeah. On the surface. Let's not confront. Let's keep everything. Let's not rock the boat.
It's like a doormat.
Yeah. So, keeping the external peace and trying to be nice and understanding person, being considerate. Okay, let's let go. It's okay. It's okay. So this sounds good. This person everybody likes. Who doesn't like this person? There is no confrontation. The person lets go, is trying to keep peace, never stands up for anything.
Spineless. Spineless.
Yeah, spineless and a doormat in some ways. But he's exalted also because in any situation, right? Generally we think about ourselves, but he is not the selfish one. He never only thinks about his own interest. He considers the overall harmony and he refrains from impulsive action. That's why he is also exalted, right? He is not ordinary, but he also makes mistakes. Then you have Arjuna. The whole Gita came because Arjuna was confused about dharma. He calls himself Dharma Sammoda Chetaha. Somebody who's not clear about what is to be done in the situation. Where is he in that particular case? Where was he operating from? Which did not make him assess what is the right thing to do.
Attachment.
So, what does it mean? All his love for his grandfather, his teacher was thrown out. Kind of a compassion for the society at large. But that clouded his thinking, which did not make him see the reality of the situation and see what was to be done by him. So that means following dharma is not as easy. Why is it not easy? Because not only not so good people don't follow dharma. These people in various degrees, they are good human beings and even they are struggling with figuring out what is the right response for different reasons. One is operating from an archetype of loyalty, the other one revenge, I have to teach them that. This other is vow, the other is being nice. The other one is emotionally, oh, I'm attached to them, oh, they are my loved ones, how can I fight? Now, suppose we use this as archetype, and suppose I ask you that have you operated from any of these which that has not made you assess accurately what needs to be done in a situation?
Guilty.
Huh?
Guilty.
You're guilty. Okay, everybody is guilty. Whether they raise their hand or not, everybody is guilty. Otherwise, you are claiming that all your decisions are 100% right. And you have not fallen prey to any of this. This is highly unlikely. But yeah, so guilty, you don't say guilty, but yeah, all of us, we are all guilty. But what? Where do you think? Where do you see yourself?
Are there some aspects which are more predominant?
More than predominant than the other?
It can be one or two, or three, right?
Yeah, but because I did a Mahabharata class with Surya, and realized also in the end we gave a presentation on one of the characters. I chose Yudhishthira because I feel strongly connected. Trying to please others, trying to be nice, not wanting to be hurt. I think that's underneath. So I connect a lot with Yudhishthira, and yeah, I think doing the class with Surya also changed a lot. So I'm also seeing myself in the other characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
But many of us are like this. And in fact, Saturday, somebody told me something very interesting. She says that in school and at home, when we are taught dharma, we are taught dharma like this. Be like Yudhishthira, be nice. Don't, be considerate towards others. Don't confront anybody. Don't say no to anybody. That's not nice. So this is exalted. But Krishna's dharma is none of these dharma. He has. That's why he says, I have come on this earth to teach what is dharma. And in fact, we think he has come to teach dharma to Duryodhana, but he has come to teach dharma to all these characters. Because in their own right, they were all misguided for one reason or the other. And they were not able to see clearly what needed to be done in a given situation. So, generally, the logical error we make is that the nice people always make right choices. and bad people always make wrong choices. This is not true. Good people can make wrong choices. And then there is a cost to those choices. This is why Swamiji used to say that, you can look at the act and you can call that act, which if it is not in keeping with what is required to be done in the situation, you can call it a dharmic act. But you cannot dismiss the person as a dharmic. Why? Because it's not like in every situation he makes a mistake or he or she makes a mistake.
Like you said yesterday, that he doesn't call someone a criminal.
Criminal, exactly, right? But then people take to crime because that particular act is coming from pain, coming from insecurity, coming from whatever anger. But that doesn't mean that person forever gets a label called criminal. So people take to adharma for various reasons. But you can't call them adharmic categorically. Sometimes they are lucid, they make dharmic choice. Sometimes their thinking is taken over by any of these. And they don't make the right assessment. And they end up doing the wrong thing, sometimes even with the right intention. So living a life of dharma requires a lot of reflection. Otherwise, we just say, oh yeah, but I'm honest. And everybody thinks, yeah, it's true. Most of us are generally honest, generally good people. But one needs to be far more alert and quite honest to see which are these archetypes that you fall into, which at times doesn't allow you to make right choices. Can you give me in contemporary life, right? You don't need to talk about yourself, but in contemporary life, right? Choices that people make in present day context, which are made only from these emotional connections. And which clouds their understanding of dharma in a modern day context. What is a scenario?
Voting for Trump.
Sorry?
Voting for Trump. Voting.
Voting for Trump.
Yes.
Voting for Trump.
From an emotional standpoint.
Okay. Anything else? Voting for Trump. Okay.
Your question is what some name of some people?
No, just a context.
Or context.
A scenario. Simple scenario. And it's easy, it's not difficult.
And for me, it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
When I see myself with my older daughter, Tashi, where the emotional need to be protective of her is so strong that I don't allow her to have consequences for her actions. So I'm always there for her before she can even bear any consequences. I'm there to protect her. And I think that is actually, it hinders her from growing as a person. And it comes from this confused place of thinking that you actually love her and care for her so much that you don't want her to fall. Yeah. But in the end, you're actually enabling her to not take accountability and responsibility.
Great. Right. Very nice that you want to protect somebody that you love very much, but you end up protecting so much that that person somehow, in some ways, is overprotected and doesn't learn to face the challenges on their own and go through the consequences of their decisions. Yeah, that's emotional. Or sometimes, suppose if you if you are coming from a business family and suppose that family is splitting and you think that your husband is taking unfair share, are you able to stand up and tell your husband, or you just say, I have to be on my husband's side? How do you make decisions? These are things that we need to create our modern context, because otherwise everything that we study remains a textbook. Yeah, tick, number 6 verse I have done, number 7 verse I have done. But how does it apply to me? What can I do to become more dharmic? What can I do to assess more accurately? Where have I fallen? For which reason? Unless all this work is done, everything remains superficial. We get the semblance of knowing, but we don't actually, we keep it. So this is where we need to little bit reflect of, and how many people are operating from this whole thing of revenge. So I have somebody, it's interesting now that he comes to my class. So he's separated from his wife and he's very wealthy. So his wife gets a lot of money for herself and also for kids. But the wife is also, because she's simple and he is big shot. So the wife thinks that if she lets her kids interact with him, then because he has a lot more means, right, than her, then they will all get attracted to him. So she keeps them away from, her ex-husband. So now the husband he tells that, she is playing this game with me. She's not letting me see my children, because she's threatened that the children will feel more comfortable with me. I'm able to give them a much better quality of life. I'm able to give them a lot more. So now what am I going to do? Reduce, because there is this trust, and I will not sign. What does it mean? I will not release money now. Revenge. You're doing this to me? Oh, okay. Here, I can be one up. I will take revenge. I will show you. This is revenge mode. And in present day, please don't think it's all them. All of us do it. If you are honest, we all do it. That's why it requires a little reflection to see that our dark side is not comfortable. What motivates our actions? How we assess things? How we make decisions? What are the criteria we use? So there was another story which is amazing. I just want you to understand that these are all real life situations, the entanglement in which good people get into. Good people, they are not bad people. So I had a friend, and she was seeing a guy, and then somehow she couldn't get married to him. So because there was a family pressure, so she got married to somebody else. Now this guy felt really hurt that this woman left her for, whatever pressure she had, but he just felt hurt. Then he said that because they lived in the same town, so he's like, okay, I'm going to show her. She left me, I'm going to show her. then he would just create a context that wherever she is in whatever, because they were friends, they were in the similar, he will show up with all these fancy new girls and make her and go in front of her with all these other, really nice women. And this woman, she said, I was breaking down. Because she also loved him. But that love became so convoluted because it was not responded to. It all became show that person and make her, break her. All these manipulations are very prevalent. People behave like that. So, this dharma following is not that easy. Yeah.
When I look at myself, I try to be dharmic, and then I stopped doing revenge consciously. But what I now realize more and more that I'm not now more on the side, I'm doing the opposite, letting people do things and not like judicial. So it's from one extreme into the other, and to detect it, and okay, this is also not resting. So I just realized this.
Yeah, exactly. See, we also go from one extreme to the other, so we never come to the real dharma. So this is something that you need to understand. Bringing Ishvara in your life. When you perform action, what it means is making sure, even some of the biases that people have are noble, they are not bad things. Loyalty is not bad, but misplaced. Right? Sticking to your words is not bad. Being considerate towards others is not bad. Having emotions is not bad. That's why the flip is subtle. When do you get carried away with one given thing to the extent that it colors your vision of what needs to be done? This is a dynamic thing. Can you say that today I did not get carried away, so tomorrow also I will not get carried away? It's a continuous process and one has to be vigilant. Where are you operating from? Are you able to assess? Are you caught in some ideal? Are you caught in some paradigm which doesn't allow you to see things clearly? So this is what offering your actions to Ishvara means, bringing dharma in your life and reducing your own biases. Now, what is interesting is there is the other thing which, now I will stop. Other thing which I will talk about tomorrow is there is a second dharma which is talked about, which is offering your actions. One is samanya dharma, being able to assess what is the right thing to do. The other is swadharma. And what is this swadharma? Swadharma is you have a specific place in the grand scheme of things. And you are related to specific people and you are playing specific roles, whether you like it or not. If you go to work, you are an employer or an employee. At home, you are either a child or a parent or a spouse. You are a community member, you are a citizen of a nation. You are connected. Nobody can live without that connection. Connections are already given. And all these connections require, got you to play your role. You can't, even if you want to extract yourself from the community, you cannot. The roads on which you drive your car, they are built by people who are faceless. If you say, I'm not connected to anybody, stop using those roads. The food that you eat is what? Now that today we went and people perhaps didn't know how the rice grows. They talk about organic rice and all, but they don't see the fields. They have never seen the fields and they haven't seen the farmers who grow the rice. Every second of your life, you draw from services of people. All these faceless people who have built these buildings, electricians who give light, all the tech people who make all this technology possible. Thousands, your life right now is connected to thousands of people. So what is this detachment that we are talking about? What is this thing called, I am not interested in the world and I want to be detached? What detachment? Neither you can detach from the people, nor you can detach from the plants who are standing there innocently and preparing food for you. Nor you can detach from the sun and the moon and the air and the waters. What are you going to detach yourself from? Connection is the truth. This is how the creation is made. If the person who built the road, he was bored and he was doing things mechanically, he built a shabby road. Your car got punctured. You got stranded at midnight. It inconvenienced you. When he was building the road, he was not thinking about inconveniencing you. He was just bored. And he was just doing things mechanically, not paying attention. But it impacted lives. When you perform an action, where is the place that you are coming from? Boredom? I'm spiritual and this is material world and I have no interest and it's okay. And if your actions are coming from that place, and your existence is not just unconnected existence. You are connected to everybody else. It impacts somebody somewhere and you don't even know. So what is this Svadharma? Every role that you play has to be played with alertness. Then you have to give your best. Because you're constantly drawing from services of countless people. And if they don't do their job well, it inconveniences you. And if you don't do your job well, it inconveniences many people. And that has impact. Again, it comes back to you. So what does it mean? This role playing. And yesterday what we saw is every role has a challenge. There is no role which comes without a challenge. If you are relating to your parents, you have to see the reality of your parents. And that is sometimes painful. But you still have to discover love, like Nachiketa did. You have so many different roles to play. If we get lost in the role, if there is no center, all the challenges of the role become your challenges and you become totally loaded as an individual. There is no cognitive distance between the role and you, the person. So, what is growth? The growth is to become, first, separate the basic person from all the different roles that you have to play. And then what? Then recognize the script of every role and play it well. Because you're playing that role well. If you do it well, it will benefit. It will have a multiplier effect. If you don't do it well, it will impact adversely. Again, multiplier effect for generations. So that alertness is something that is very much required when you live your life. So life is not lived mechanically. Now, what I will do tomorrow is I will start the class now. It's a little late. I think they will do the lamps, so we will go and see the lamps. But one thing which is interesting, in yesterday's satsang, I made people do an exercise because after, my question, there was Swamiji's talk, and Swamiji was talking about when you have a cognitive distance with role, when you're not lost in role, then you're able to play the roles well and you're able to manage everything well, but not get carried away in anything. And that is only, there is no physical distance between role and you. There is only a cognitive distance. While the role cannot exist without you, you are essentially none of the roles. Now, what I did is, it's a lovely idea, it's brilliant. I wanted to operationalize it. So I gave a scenario, and that is, suppose you are lost in role and you are not lost in role. You have a cognitive distance. In one given scenario, what will you do differently? So what was the scenario? The scenario is, you worked really hard and you thought that you deserved a promotion and you didn't get that promotion. In one scenario, what you are lost, you are so identified as being the employee, then how would you behave with your boss? If you are totally identified with the role, you have no cognitive distance. And how will you behave differently if you have that cognitive distance, that you're not lost in your role? How will you handle the situation differently? That you have to figure out. That is what we call operationalizing ideas. Bringing them and, making you have to think about, in this situation, yes, I understood this idea. What will I do differently if I bring this idea? That you need to figure out. If you have not figured out, it has remained little superficial. You understand the idea, but when the situation comes, you don't know how to translate this idea into reality. So what are some of the errors that we make that I will talk about? That cognitive distance with role, what does it mean and what it does not mean in terms of behavior? That I will talk about tomorrow. Right? So that we begin to understand things more accurately and we can live with more alertness and more clarity. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.